Hi everyone, and welcome back to the village. I'm really excited to be back because I feel like it's been a whole week I've been away. The pandemic did finally hit us, so we had to deal with that reality. Anyway, with that out of the way, we have a very interesting topic today. Fun fact, Harvard University actually teaches African languages. They have a whole program. And I thought it was really fascinating when I found this out because they have successfully built an African languages program in a prestigious American university, while we as Africans back home are still struggling to decolonize our education. Now, let me kick things off by saying that I want to give a huge shout out to all these incredible Africans who are out here in the US are trying to do amazing things for themselves, and these are the faces that are actually behind the Harvard African language program. Let's look at a few things about this whole African program in Harvard. So, a few things to note is that it was established in 2003, so that's roughly 19 years. It's said to be offering 15 languages every semester. To date, it has offered 40 languages. I believe it could be more. And one of the key things about Harvard is that if you're going to join Harvard, they do have a requirement that you need to take a foreign language. So African languages, that's how they can be taken if you're going to join Harvard. So I guess I would urge people who are going to join Harvard to actually consider taking African languages. Why not? But the other reason why Harvard is offering African languages is to prepare. I guess they've come to this realization that some of the graduates are going to be going to foreign countries to work. And you can think of it, maybe you're going as an ambassador, or you're going as a diplomat of some sort. Probably you're going to work with the UN, and you end up in an African country, so you'll need to be able to understand how to speak, to read, to write. And this is one of the reasons of how you could benefit from taking an African language. Okay, but I think one of the the reasons that really stood out for me was this one. Now, this is particularly very, very important because for a minute I was like, okay, so Western organizations or institutions or Western people actually do understand the value of native languages, or like, let me say, indigenous languages, especially when I was reading this, because it says that a serious understanding of Africa begins with language study. Indigenous African languages serve as roadmaps to understanding how social, political, and economic institutions and processes develop, from kinship structures, the evolution of political offices, the trade relations, to the transfer of environmental knowledge. African languages are key to understanding how Africans understand, organize, and transmit essential knowledge to successive generations. All the African languages offered serve as lingua franca for large populations and are important in regional commerce, governance, and development. Now, when I saw this, I was like, okay, there is no way you can ever convince me that the Westerners don't fully understand the importance of indigenous African languages. And so I was like, if Harvard can actually spend resources and actually hire Africans to develop a fully fledged African program in the US, so they definitely understand how this affects us as a people. But I think the thing that I really battled with is how is it then that another organization, American organization, on the other hand, is doing the opposite? Okay, so this is an article that was published by the Standard Media, and the headline, as you can see, it says that pupils taught in vernacular do poorly in Kiswahili and English. And This was based off a baseline report by Tusome. Now, Tusome is a program funded by the USAID, and it's some of the things that really caught my attention was this specific part where it says that teachers who use local languages in class during Kiswahili and English lessons are contributing to the failure of learners in this subject. Now, to give a little bit of context, I did talk about this competency based curriculum, this new curriculum that Kenya launched, and they're trying to sort of like encourage the use of local languages. For teachers to use local languages, they are making an allowance for that, especially in the early years of the child, when the child is learning. It's, I believe it's up to grade 4, and then grade 4 onwards, then you get taught in English and Kiswahili. Okay, with that context in mind, think about it. This Tusome program, which has been funded by USAID, you have to keep in mind that USAID is an American based organization. They were actually suggesting that the government should consider increasing the instructional time for both English and Kiswahili back to 5 lessons per week. As you can see, I'm highlighting this guy here, Mr. Mark. One of the things that he pointed out, that was reported in this article, is that him, as the director of USAID Kenya and East Africa, he said that the program has distributed 26 million books, and I was like, oh my God, I got really excited about that number. And I was like, I wonder if there are any books that are in local languages or anything like that, or something that promotes, local languages, because you have to take in mind that in Kenya we have 44 tribes, and all these tribes have languages, and I was just wondering, could any of these books maybe be in the local languages, because you have to take in mind that Kiswahili and English are just two languages out of how many? It's just so funny. And then my heart broke when I saw this this statement under that. And I was like, 26 million books in English and Kiswahili only. It's like, so as you can see, they are advocating for English and of course Kiswahili, as as a cover up, like as a way of like, no, just stick to these two, these are just good. And let me paint the picture for you guys so that you're able to understand. This Tusome program has is said to have invested close to 81 million, because this is the budget as per the statistics. This is data that is absolutely public, and you guys can go and read about this. 81 million invested between the period of 2014 to 2021. Crazy. And the implementing partners are also an American based organization called RTI. So I was just like, okay, okay. And they didn't spare any arm of the education system. They went ahead and partnered with the Kenya Institute of for Curriculum Development, Kenya Institute of Special Education, Kenya National Examination Council, Ministry of Education, Teachers Service Commission. They pretty much targeted everyone in the education system. Now, I kept wondering, how is it that one institution, like an institution like Harvard, would invest so much money to have Africans within their country develop a fully fledged African education system, and go ahead and really outline how they understand the importance of languages, local languages to the people. Yet we have one American organization here that is absolutely undermining. And this is, guys, this is not just a Kenyan problem. This problem is there throughout Africa. As you can see, Uganda is also still going through the same thing. It's just really sad. They're trying to figure out how to navigate the waters, if I say so. And it's just really hard. Let me give you some fun statistics, guys. Uh, UNESCO started celebrating the International Mother Tongue Day since 2000, and this was an initiative by Bangladesh that was approved in 1999. And one key thing that I saw here when I was reading this is that this part says globally, 40% of the population does not have access to an education in a language they speak or understand. And that was, I was like, what? Think about it. Think about it if you're an African and you're saying this. When you're growing up and you went to school, did any of the books teach in your mother tongue? In your actual mother tongue? So for instance, for me, I am a Duruma, for instance. And in all my 16 years of schooling, there was never one point in time anybody mentioned to me about Duruma or anything. It was always English. But English is foreign to me. English is not my first language. Duruma is my first language, then Kiswahili, you know, then English. There is nothing wrong with us having been, we are trilingual. Africans are trilingual. But it's said that, you can see that the foreign languages that were introduced during the colonial era have sort of like taken center stage, and our mother tongue is sort of like being put aside. Now, it's hard for me to argue this without bringing the points, or bringing, Mzengugi wa Thiong'o into this, because I think once you read his book Decolonizing the Mind, where he talks about the politics of language in African literature, your mind will never be the same. You'll definitely be transformed. And as I was looking at all this data and I was trying to understand, why is it that an American institution inside America would acknowledge and recognize the importance of African education, yet another American institution, for instance, like in Kenya, you said, it's, to be fair, it's almost coming across like it's fully undermining the the introduction of local languages into the education system. 81 billion is a lot of money, and none of it went into like promoting local languages. Hey, come on, it's just really sad to see. Why is it so? And uh, I couldn't help but remember these words, especially in his preface to this book, Decolonizing the Mind, where he says, if in these aces I criticize the Afro-European choice over linguistic praxis, it is not to take away from the talent and the geniuses of those who have written in English, French, or Portuguese. On the contrary, I am lamenting a neocolonial situation which has meant the European bourgeoisies once again are stealing our talents and geniuses as they have stolen our economies. In the 18th and 19th century, Europe stole our treasures from Africa to decorate their houses and museums. In the 20th century, Europe is stealing the treasures of the mind to enrich their languages and culture. Now, my mind, really was transformed by these words, because I could I could see it's not just Europe, but I would argue a lot of like Western countries, you know. Like Harvard is benefiting by the input of these genius and brilliant Africans who are now contributing to this incredible African language program that has been instituted. Yet, when it comes to the aspect, and when we talk about neocolonialism, there's this aspect of cultural imperialism, and you can see that on the other hand, they're trying to make us feel like, no, 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 you should just read English, you should not introduce local languages. Here, they're undermining what we're trying to do, while on this other hand they are trying to enrich their culture and themselves and who they are as a people. It's just really, really sad to see this, because I think, you know the truth of the matter is, Harvard is going to continue to grow. As you can see, the enrollment into the program is continuously growing. In fact, if you look at this data, it shows that from 2007 and all through 2010, they had some of the highest recorded numbers. I don't have the latest data past 2014, but this data is sufficient to show that people are actually taking these African programs. The other thing is that if you look at some of the languages that they are being offered, the languages are comprehensive. I looked at some of these languages and I was like, dang, Really? They teach Somali, they teach Shona, Sudanese Arabic, you know, Amharic, Afrikaans, Zulu. Like they really teach like the very like what would call like mother tongue. um you can see here some of the biggest percentage actually, based on the statistics that we see here, was in Swahili, and I was like, I think I understand why this is the case. You know what, for the Swahili part, Kenya is actually the UN headquarters. It has been the UN headquarters for Africa since 1996. And many of the people who want to come and work off of like the office back in Kenya, it's important for them to understand a little bit of Swahili and understand how to navigate when you're down there. But guys, as you can see, the truth of the matter is, it's I've come to the conclusion as I was looking at this data that it is not the foreigners or the foreign donations that are going to help us move forward. Some of these donations also come with a lot with strings that are not really geared towards helping us as a people. But I want to showcase to allow me to show you guys how we can do this. I picked Kunda Kids because this is a perfect example of Africans really trying to build Africa. These here are Africans, obviously, in the diaspora, but they have devoted themselves to writing kids' books, and they're writing kids' books about how would you start. There is so much more that we can do. What if you started a book that focuses on African architecture and you taught children about African architecture and you went and worked away with your school system or education system, to get a contract to supply this to the teachers. What if you went and talked to teachers and asked them, how do we start to teach our kids about indigenous African architecture? What if you taught kids about nutrition, indigenous plants, what is the use of them, and all that? What if you taught kids about African faith, you know what if you taught them about African faith, how to pray, how to become like maybe an indigenous priest or something? There's so much that we can do. Let's not sit back and just say, oh, we want the government to come and do this, or the government should do this, the government has failed us here. No, you have a real opportunity to bring real change to your community, but you have to take the first step and you have to challenge yourself and say, you know what, I have this degree, I have all this, but me going and sitting in the office and doing this is not going to cut it. I need to be out there in the field and doing something for myself, for my people. Africans are people who have so much ingenuity. We have so much in us. There is nothing that we cannot do, but we have to start from somewhere, guys. Anyway, I hope this inspires some of us to go out there and do something. Yeah, and if you like the video, please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to share it with a friend. Be sure to support. I really appreciate you watching, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, cheers.